I fortunately have a pretty uh, somewhat regular relationship now with the New World Symphony, and it's been wonderful. The first time I came was actually during the pandemic, and they were still trying to put music out there, and so I had actually come and uh, did recordings because we didn't have any audience, live audience at the time. I did some recordings with some of the fellows of the New World Symphony of actually Florence Price's piano quintet, which at that time was very, very much not known. And I feel like they were one of the first organizations to help really elevate it in our time. And so then I've come again, I've played with the symphony. I soloed with the Florence Price Piano Concerto that I mentioned. And also, what's really fun about what I'm going to be doing in next month with Hazel Scott is that it's not the first time that New World audiences will have heard music of hers, because some years back, I actually had first come across. Well, let me say this. I knew about Hazel Scott. I knew about her as this great jazz pianist. I knew about that iconic photo of her and video of her playing on two pianos flawlessly at the same time. I mean, she is a legend. But I didn't really know the fullness of who she was. And that is inspiring. It is so inspiring. I was reading a biography about her. It's a great one written by Karen Chilton. Look that up if you're interested to know more about her. But as I was reading this book of her life, I didn't know that she was classically trained. And at the age of 8, she was accepted into the Juilliard School of Music. One of the youngest ever to be accepted. And actually, they didn't even, at that time, you could not come in that young. So when I say accepted, ultimately a Juilliard professor said, I will take you on because we can't bring you into the school. But he saw the prodigious talent in her. So she was playing standards of the classical repertoire throughout her childhood. In the meantime, her mother was a jazz musician, had actually taken up, her mother was a pianist first, but took up the saxophone, really did well and joined a lot of the groups in Harlem at the time. And so Hazel would attend these rehearsals, hear her mom practicing, essentially loved jazz, and her ear was phenomenal. She could hear anything and play it. So she learned initially self-taught, how to improvise as a jazz pianist. Then very famous name, Art Tatum, came across her and actually decided to mentor her. And so it went from there. I mean, she really took off. So all this, I don't know that she has this classical background. Well, another thing I didn't know, which is what I'm bringing to the audiences next month, was that she had actually found a way to fuse her two loves, and that was with the classical music and her jazz improvisation. One of her first albums was swinging the classics. She took pieces like Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C sharp minor, Chopin's Minute Waltz, Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody, very well-known classical pieces. And she would start them true to form, and you would just think you're about to hear some Liszt. And then she breaks off into this like insane jazz improvisation. She uses a lot of stride. That was big for her at the time, and just blew everyone off their feet. So when I read about this, I just dug deep to find what this was. I was able to find her doing that. I found the album online, and I fell absolutely in love with these transcriptions. The thing is, she never wrote them out. And I'm a classical pianist, so I'm not, I would not try to say that I'm a great improviser, but at the same time, I really wanted to get my hands on it. So really great about what you're going to be hearing next month is that I have been working on this for a bit. I collaborated with a composer and arranger who has taken only from audio, from what we were able to find of the album, and he was able to transcribe it onto the page so that I could read it, learn it, and it was fun. I was going back and forth from what he wrote to listening to her album, trying to basically bring to life the essence of her from a classical pianist point of view, a classical pianist who loves jazz. So at any rate, that's what this is, and that it's been a work over time. Couple of years ago, we played a couple of her transcriptions that already existed that somebody else had transcribed, but now we've got them all. We've got all the ones that she did on the album. We're going to be performing all of those. You're going to be able to meet her son. She had one son, Adam Clayton Powell III. You might recognize that name because Adam Clayton Powell Jr., of course, was a huge and, of course, important figure in the civil rights era. and there's a street named after him in Harlem. And so this is there. She was married to him, Hazel Scott, and they had one son. He will be there talking about his mother. This is really going to be phenomenal to share these transcriptions, to meet her son and hear more about her from his point of view, and to just talk about how this all came together.